In the constantly changing world of fundability, the big question is this: how are entrepreneurs and real estate investors like us, ones who want to grow our businesses and who are tired of paying for really expensive alternative lending, how do we tap into the most inexpensive money available and do it without the hassle of typical borrowing? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. Welcome to the Get Fundable podcast with your host, Merrill Chandler.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Merrill Chandler, your host of the Get Fundable podcast and in the Get Fundable universe. Okay, so I have been knocking your socks off with some powerhouses of entrepreneur excellence. Today, I got to tell you, we're going to blow your minds. So in this episode, I've got Michelle Seiler Tucker, and if you have not heard her name yet, you will. I will be back in just a moment, and we will be talking about how to turn your hobby into a business and how to create an amazing exit value. More in just a minute. Welcome back, everybody. Merrill Chandler here. Whew. Okay, tribe. Have I got an episode for you? I want to introduce to you, actually, my benefactor. How many times have I told you about the board of advisors that I spend a week per quarter basically getting downloads from brilliant individuals who are far better at running a business than I've ever been, and they're teaching me how to prepare my business for an amazing exit. Well, guess who I have on our podcast today? And Michelle is a genius at not just creating value in a business, but showing you how to exit. Now, this is not all. She's been featured in Inc., Forbes, USA Magazine, on Fox Business News, CNBC, and she has shared the stage with Eric Trump, Kathy Ireland, Rudy Giuliani, Donna Karen. Steve Wozniak, Zuckerberg. I don't even know how to pronounce these guys' names, much less share a stage with them. So she is on these stages because she brings a powerful and unique view of how to create value in people's lives and monetize that so that you can either have an amazing cash cow of a business or prepare it to exit rich. We're also going to be talking about her new book. Whoa, there it is. Exit Rich. So, Michelle, hi. How are you?
Hi, Merrill. How are you?
Fantastic.
Congratulations on getting a first advanced copy of Exit Rich.
I know this is, guys, we'll be talking about how to get your copy, but this is on deck for me. This is the next book I'm reading because I actually won a contest where she only had 3 advanced copies, and I got one of them. You're welcome. Thank you very much. So I'm going to be able to continue after Michelle has departed. We're going to give you information about how she can create more value for you if you're interested in actually becoming a professional business person, not just a professional entrepreneur, fix and flipper, note buyer, etc. So, Michelle, give us a little bit about how did you get here into this position where so many tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people are literally waiting for your next book?
So, the funny thing is I already have the next book written. Writing books is the easy part. It's the publishing and the marketing and all of the other stuff that's difficult, but the writing piece is easy for me. So how did I get here? I've always been interested in entrepreneurship. I've always been interested in writing. Even as a little girl, I would walk around with notebooks and I would walk up to complete strangers and start asking them questions like, who are you? What do you do? How do you do it?
I'm taking a poll.
Yes. And so my mom's like, oh my gosh, she's going to be the next Barbara Walters. And anyway, so I've just always been a people person. I've always been, writing is my passion. I love to write. And I write poems, I write lyrics, I write books. Oh. And then I've always been interested in entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is my lifeblood. I'm so passionate about entrepreneurs. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I just can't wait to find out, how somebody built a multi-million-dollar company from their kitchen table, from the garage, or we're selling a $70 million company right now. And the owner has an 8th grade education and he started out of his pickup truck. So anyway, I've always been interested in entrepreneurship. I did work in corporate America. I went to work for Xerox. Xerox actually recruited me, and I worked there for 6 months. And very quickly, my nickname became the closer, because every time somebody couldn't close the deal, they're like, "Call Michelle. She'll close it. She closes everything." So I was the closer at Xerox. And then my supervisor came to me and said, "Listen, you really should interview for the regional vice president position." She said, "You'll never get it because you've only been here for 6 months and you're going to be interviewing against people who've been here for years." And I said, "Well, why should I interview for something I'm never going to get?" And she said, "Because of the experience."
Yeah.
She said,
Absolutely.
"The experience." She said, "It's a 3-month process." And it was. So I said, "Okay, I'll do it." She said, "You'll learn more doing this than anything else at Xerox." And she was right. So I met with all the high-level executives. I had to do all these presentations, all these demonstrations, Q&As, etc. And I ended up getting it. I did get it, even though they told me I never would.
That's awesome. You're the young buck on the block, and all of a sudden you just leapfrogged over all the other applicants.
Yeah, I sure did. And you know what? It was against Xerox policy. It was against their policy to promote somebody who's been there under 2 years. So I ended up getting it. And then, of course, all my friends at Xerox hated me because I beat them.
by decades worth of their time invested.
Exactly. So I moved up into corporate management, which I hated. So
I won and it sucks.
Yeah, I won and it sucks. And you know what? No corporation should take their number one salesperson, who they nickname the closer, and promote them into upper management. But the reason I didn't like it, I like management, I like leadership. Why I didn't like it in corporate America is because you can't get anything done. Right. You have meetings to have follow-up meetings. And I wasn't meeting with my clients. I wasn't solving problems. I wasn't finding solutions. I was just stuck in meetings all day long. So anyway, I ended up leaving Xerox, and I ended up going into franchise sales, franchise development, franchise consulting. I was a partnership in one franchise that I'm not going to mention here. But anyway, so I ended up doing that. So hundreds and hundreds of franchises for multiple franchisors. And then clients kept asking me, "Well, do you have an existing business?" They didn't want to buy a franchise. Franchising is not for everyone.
That's startup.
And so I'm like, you know what? Mode. I'm going to start selling companies. So that's when I started my firm, my mergers and acquisitions firm. At first starting, selling smaller businesses, but then very quickly started selling businesses $10 million and up. And then I learned that what Steve Forbes says is really true. As Steve Forbes endorsed my book, Exit Rich, he says 8 out of 10 businesses don't sell. Right. Well, M&A Source says 90%, 9 out of 10 don't sell. And it's true. So I'm going to listen to Steve Forbes since he endorsed Exit Rich, but 8 out of 10 businesses don't sell. So then that's when I started transitioning and saying, okay, let me fix these businesses. And I've owned many different businesses along the way. And I currently own several businesses that I'm building to sell. So I started really.
So there's a formula then. You're saying that we go with Steve Forbes, 8 out of 10 don't sell. So that leaves a huge market for you as a professional fixer, as it were, a company fixer, to come in and align them to make them sellable, right? To make them available, attractive for purchase. Yeah.
So that's what I started specializing in, is really fixing businesses, growing them, and putting them on the build to sell plan. So that's what we do. I specialize in buying, selling, fixing, growing. I will buy businesses and flip them. I've partnered with business owners, investing my money, my time, energy, effort, resources, expertise. Sometimes I'll bring other partners in. And plus we merge businesses and sell businesses. So that's my journey.
Okay, you guys. All right. So we just got to. Did you hear what she said? I know you guys are sensitized to this. She fixes and flips businesses. Now, I got to say that fixing and flipping anything probably has some corollaries, right? Some standard features you have to do no matter what, whether you're fixing or flipping houses, you're fixing or flipping cars. I know a guy who flips cars. Fixing and flipping a business has to have some sort of the same tasks to accomplish to make it sellable, right?
Yeah. So it's all the same infrastructure. It's all the same infrastructure. First you have to look at, why are 80% of businesses not selling? First you have to look
What's
at
the
that.
problem?
Then you have to look at the other problem. And I don't know if you're aware of this. I talk about this at BA, and you might have heard me mention this last time, but when I wrote my first book, Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth, in 2013, and I did the research, I learned that 95% of startups within that first 1 to 5 years would go out of business, right?
Yeah.
95%. But then when I wrote Exit Rich in 2019 and 2020, I did the exact same research. The business landscape has flip-flopped. Now it's only 30% of startups are at risk. And out of 27.6 million companies, now let me repeat that, 27.6 million companies, those businesses have been in business 10 years or more. 70% of those companies will go out of business. 70. Now you hear about the public companies like Toys R Us in business 75 years goes out of business. JCPenney's, Kmart, Steinmart, Dillard's, not Dillard's, Montgomery Wars.
Pier 1, yeah, absolutely.
Pier 1. Godiva is closing down 15. Godiva Chocolate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Godiva
Chocolate is closing down 1,500 locations.
Oh, that's not okay.
GNC is closing down 900 locations. So all these businesses are going out of business. And it's, it doesn't matter what the industry is. The way that we fix businesses, the way I look at businesses is the same. The infrastructure is the same. And
so give us an example then, just like that. What can my people who are trying to stay in business, right? Mm-hmm. Some of them have made a business out of real estate or their vocation. Some of them are still hobbyists and they're like, don't know how to make it a real business. How do you what do they need to know in order to have the best chance at staying in business and knowing when to pivot, et cetera, et cetera? Okay.
So first and foremost, they need to build an infrastructure. You have to build a solid infrastructure. And I call this the infrastructure of the 6 Ps. The 6 Ps to sell your business for huge profits. The 6 Ps are the same no matter what the industry is.
Take notes, you guys.
The cylinders are the same. So number one, you don't build a business, you build people, and people build the business.
Okay.
The number one issue why businesses are not sellable, but there's 2 issues why businesses are not sellable. Number one is because business owners never think about planning their exit. They never think about selling their business until a catastrophic event has occurred. Internal could be health issues, partner disputes, divorce, death, and then external, COVID. Here's a perfect example for you. When you're trying to sell your business during a catastrophic event, your numbers are typically going down and your business is not going to be worth much. So many business owners are unfortunately selling for pennies on a dollar, closing their business, or even worse, filing bankruptcy. Right. The best time to sell your business is when your business is in its prime, when it's in its heyday, when your business is booming. Business owners never want to sell when the business is booming because they're like, oh, this is so great.
Cash, right?
It's cash. But that's the time you should be selling your business. So you want to, number one, follow the GPS exit model, and we can talk about that later. And then once you build what I call the exit model for your exit strategy, then you want to build the infrastructure. You want to build the synergies that buyers are looking for. So number one is people. The number 2 reason that businesses don't sell is because the owner is the business. The owner has created a glorified job in which they go to work for or to every day versus a business that works for them. And
completely understand. I want to spend a second on that one.
Sure.
That's the transition that I've been in for the last few months since I joined BA, basically, and got schooled by all of these badasses who have 10 million, 20 million, $50 million companies, or have sold a dozen or more of them. I prided myself being on a subject matter expert, but not being a awesome CEO. I didn't know how to be in the business of being in a business. And so when you say, it's all about the guy, the cult of personality, I'm stuck with this mess until I create an infrastructure, right? I can't do anything until somebody can preach it as well as I can.
Yeah, because unfortunately, people don't want to buy you. They want to buy your company. They will run without you. So, entrepreneurs really have to focus on their strengths and hire their weaknesses. And I always say, if you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. So you need to put the right people. Yeah, you need to put the right people in the right spot. And Merrill, you have to ask the who question. Who opens the door? Who deals with clients? Who deals with marketing? Who deals with accounting? Who deals with legal? Who deals with environmental? Who deals with manufacturing, transportation, logistics, whatever it is? The clue, Merrill, is you should never be next to the who.
I should never say me ever.
Nope. So every entrepreneur should go home and write down every single task that has to be done in your company and assign that to a person in your business. And if your name is next to every task, you got a lot of work to do.
You got a problem. So I got to tell you, Michelle, this is brilliant because I was in my coaching. From one of the advisors at Board of Advisors, one of my teammates there, they literally said, you need to build out the exit version of your the organization chart, the accountability chart of the end game, and then you put in the title, and it doesn't matter if you have 30 vacancies or 3, you got to make sure that you're not that thing. So I really relate to what you're saying is that you can be CEO, but you got to be able to replace you as CEO. And every other one of those slots has to have a different title and a different name. So you guys do the homework. Michelle is assigning you. Go home, make the org chart of all the things that you do in your business. And if your name, I like it. Here's the clue. If your name is next to the who, yeah, you got some work to do.
You got some work to do.
I love it.
And you want to make sure you have that layer of management. You know, you're not going to be able to sell a $5 million, $10 million, $20 million company unless you have that CFO and that COO and all that layers of management. And you want to make sure that you have your key people on non-competes and employee handbooks, etc. So it's very important. The second P, and this is another reason that a lot of businesses are not sellable, and that's because the second P is product. So product is your industry, is your service, and you really have to ask yourself, is your product on the way up or on the way out? Is it thriving or dying? Do you have an Amazon up here, Merrill, or do you have a Blockbuster and you're about to bust? And a lot of industries that were once thriving before COVID are now dying, and vice versa. So just because you have a Blockbuster and your industry is as bust right now, that doesn't mean that you just call it quits. That means that you need to align yourself with an expert, somebody who can announce, who's somebody who can see a different perspective that you're not seeing, because when you're in the middle of your fog, it's foggy. So you really need somebody who can see the blind spots and ask these 3 transformational questions. This is extremely important.
Write these down, guys.
So even Amazon did this back in the 90s. Ask yourself, what business are you in? What business are you in? If you ask, Merrill, if you ask, what business is McDonald's in? What would you say?
Well, it's kind of I know the trick answer, but they're in the hamburger business.
No, they're not. McDonald's is in the real estate business. McDonald's is the largest real estate holder in the world. And did you ever watch that movie, The Founder, based upon the McDonald brothers and the Ray Kroc story?
No, I have
Go
not.
watch that movie.
Okay,
homework, guys.
Homework, guys.
The Founder.
I'm
going to give y'all so much homework.
I was just told offline that The Founder is a brilliant movie. One of my team just walked by going, "It's awesome."
It's a brilliant movie, because here's the deal: the McDonald's brothers, and I'll be quick. The McDonald's brothers started McDonald's restaurant back in the 40s when they had Sonic type drive-ups. And, they never perfected the concept back then. So the order was always wrong. The food was always cold and always took so long. So the McDonald brothers said, we're going to start a fast food restaurant, but we're going to create it around the client's experience, around a customer's experience. Now, this is very important. We're going to create the business around the customer's experience. We want the customers to get great tasting food that's hot in 2 minutes or less. Okay.
Got it.
Now I'm kind of getting back into processes, but so let me skip real quick. Let me go back real quick. Ray Kroc came in and took over McDonald's and started franchising McDonald's because the McDonald's brothers had a few locations that didn't work out. So they didn't think it was a good idea.
A good model.
But Ray Kroc comes in there. He starts franchising. He's in the bank one day trying to borrow more money because he's upside down. He took out a loan on his house. And so he's trying to get more money because the franchisees are not paying him. And the banker's like, you're already extended. I'm not lending you any more money. So he walks out, and the true story, he walks out of the bank. This gentleman follows him out, and he asks him, Ray, what business are you in? He goes, I can't, I'm sorry, I overheard your conversation. Can I ask you a few questions? And Ray said, yeah, of course. He goes, what business are you in? And Ray goes, I'm in the hamburger business. I'm in the restaurant business. I'm in the restaurant business. He said, no, that's not the business you're in. What business are you in? And Ray goes, I'm in the restaurant business. And he goes, well, what business should you be in? And Ray goes, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he said, listen, he says, you need to be in the real estate business. You need to buy up all the land. You need to build the buildings. You need to set up your separate corporation, McDonald's Realty. And then you lease it to the franchisees. And when the franchisees are not compliant and they're not paying their bills, then you void their contract and put another franchisee in there. Because of that, those two questions, what business are you in and what business should you be in? Ray Kroc was able to take McDonald's. He has so much leverage because he owned all the real estate. He has so much leverage. He was able to take McDonald's away from the McDonald's brothers. And because of that, McDonald's is still the largest real estate holding company in the world. They're in the real estate business. They're not in the restaurant business.
Interesting. And you have ultimate leverage when you own the land upon which the restaurant is built, manufactured, and constructed.
Absolutely.
So
back to what questions should you ask yourself? Amazon did this in the 90s. They asked themselves, what business are we in? They said, we're in a book selling business. Then they asked themselves, what do we do really well, better than anyone else? We do fulfillment better than anyone else. We're great at fulfillment. And then they said, well, what business should we be in? What business should we be in? They said, we should be in the fulfillment business selling everybody's products, not just books. Those three questions transformed Amazon into the multi-billion-dollar worldwide conglomerate that they are today. So everyone needs to ask themselves those three questions. You got to stop being transactional and start becoming transformational.
Right. That's brilliant. You see why she's here, guys? Come on. You see why she's here? This is golden nuggets, man. They're flying just like.
Oh, and product, you have to pivot. There's another P for you.
Yeah.
You have to pivot. You got to do something different. The reason, Merrill, that 70% of businesses are going out of business is because they stopped AIM. AIM, A-I-M. AIM is always innovate and market. Always innovate and market. Business owners get complacent. They're married to their concepts. They're married to their ideas. They keep doing things the way they've always done them. And you're not going to stay in business like that. You know, Blockbuster did that. They saw Netflix. They saw the writing on the wall with Netflix. And they had the opportunity to buy Netflix. And they sat back fat and happy and did nothing. So you really have to be innovative now more than ever before, because the companies that make it easiest for the consumers to purchase products is a company that's going to win. Amazon is winning because they make it so easy for you to do business with them.
Yeah. Super easy.
So the third P, if you're ready for it.
I'm ready for it.
So the third P is processes. So processes are kind of like exit strategy. Most business owners don't think about exit strategy and they don't think about processes until something bad happens in their company. You know, we're working with a manufacturing company where one of their workers had a catastrophic event on the manufacturing floor. And the owner goes, well, we need a process for that. Well, you really needed the process before that happened. So every business owner should design their processes from the beginning in mind, just like the McDonald brothers did. So kind of back to the story of the McDonald's brothers, you got to design your processes with the customer experience in mind. So McDonald's knew that they wanted to deliver hot tasting food. They wanted food to taste great, come out hot, 2 minutes or less, fast. McDonald's never said we're going to have good quality. They never said it's going to be organic or healthy.
Right.
So they designed the processes around the customer experience in mind. When you watch the movie, you'll see that they actually took all their employees to an empty tennis court and drew out the processes. And they did this all day long until they figured out who's going to take the customer's orders, who's going to toast the buns, who's going to cook the burgers, put the pickles on the buns, and give it to the client. So have you ever dealt with a company where the processes are not designed with the customer experience in mind, and they're designed to really irritate you and infuriate you?
Yeah. And I don't know if there's, I know the point you're making. It's not that they're intentionally do it, but they do it to take care of the people offering the service, not the client who's buying the service, right?
Correct.
What's easier for me? What's easy for me to give this service rather than what's easiest for the client? Totally
Correct. So they are designing processes to serve their agenda, not to serve the clients.
Right.
And perfect examples of that, without me naming names, are banks, social media companies, and I'm not going to name names, but and some retailers. And then and I'll name names about who create happy experiences. Look at Zappos.
Yeah.
Zappos process is all designed to create happy experiences.
Yeah.
So your processes should always be designed with the customer experience in mind, number one. Number two, it needs to be productive and efficient. Otherwise, it's going to cost you money.
Right.
And it needs to be well documented, an SOP checklist, standard operating procedure checklist, operating manuals, and your employees need to be well trained on all.
Yeah. Brilliant. Are you guys getting this? Hello. This is the I don't promote anything, you guys, unless I'm like eyeball deep in and drinking the Kool-Aid. So this is why she is on my podcast, is because the relationship we developed while we were at BA. This is rich. I mean, not exit rich. This is extremely rich. Target rich information. That's why I'm telling you, take notes. If you're running right now, if you're on the treadmill, you guys grab something, make notes, or come back while you can, because this is so important to set these up and make sure that you have your people, your product, your processes, only the first three, in play. And thank you, Michelle. I mean, we're only halfway there, but you're outlining the things that we need to do and make sure that we've got this dialed in. Thank
you. So the fourth P, which is the highest value driver. Most businesses are evaluated on either a small percentage of revenues, but most businesses are evaluated on a multiple of EBITDA. EBITDA is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And so companies under $1 million in EBITDA are typically under a 5 multiple. Companies over $1 million in EBITDA are typically over a 5 multiple. Okay. When you start building this fourth P, which is proprietary assets, that's when I can take your company to 6 or 7 and 8 and 9, even a 10 multiple. So proprietary is a number one value driver. There are 6 pillars to proprietary. So I'll go through all 6 really quickly. But most importantly, in proprietary is branding. The more well-branded you are, the more well-branded your business is, the more I can sell your company for, right. As long as your brand is relevant in the mind of the consumers.
Right.
Does anybody want to pay any money for Blockbuster? No. So your brand has to be relevant. Trademarks are another thing that buyers will pay money for. Trademark your company name, trademark your slogans, your logos. I'm trademarked Exit Rich. Your podcast should be trademarked, your podcast name. Now, here's a mistake that business owners make. They go and they start up a business in Texas, California, New York, wherever, and they get a state trademark, but they never check the federal database to make sure that name is available. So I've seen it happen time and time again where business owners are operating for several years and they receive a cease and desist letter because somebody else has a federal trademark on your name.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you spend $1,500 or $2,000 and protect those trademarks. Also, we're selling a company right now in the $50 to $60 million range, and they have a lot of products, and our products are at retail grocery stores. Well, they have trademark products, and some of these grocery stores have exclusivity on that trademark product. So trademarks are extremely valuable.
Right.
Patents are valuable. So if you have anything you've invented, make sure you have a patent on it. You know, do you ever watch Shark Tank?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And all investors ask the same question. Do you have a patent on that? Do you have a utility patent? Do you have a patent pending?
Yeah.
You know, so get patents. You know, we once sold a company that wasn't making that much money, but they had 18 patents and we sold it for $18 million. $1 million a patent.
It's $1 million a patent.
Yeah.
And guys, this is valuable. Even if all of you aren't real estate investors, right? We have entrepreneurs, but some of you have a hobby on the side of your hobby of flipping houses. Whatever it is, make sure you are documenting everything and getting the patents, the copyrights, the trademarks necessary to claim ownership, because they are insanely valuable.
They are.
Fully.
And then contracts are extremely valuable. Manufacturing contracts, manufacturing distribution contracts, vendor contracts, franchisor contracts that have franchisees, anything that has exclusivity. The most valuable contracts of all are client contracts.
Right.
Because buyers want to buy businesses that are making money. They want to buy businesses that have cash flow coming in. So contracts are huge. I mean, we just talked to a HVAC company that we're selling, and they have 350 commercial contracts and like 800 residential contracts, something like that.
They're buying revenue stream.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you can figure out a way in your business to have reoccurring revenue, and this HVAC company does because they have maintenance agreements. So if you can find a way to have reoccurring revenue and or subscription models, that's extremely valuable. And buyers, there's 5 different types of buyers. Strategics and competitors will pay a lot of money for these proprietary assets that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But here's a caveat with contracts that you must know. Most business owners, I've never met a business owner that has this in their contract, and I've been doing this 20 years. You have to have the transferability clause in your contract that this contract is transferable to the new entity.
Sky, put that on my to-do list so that I can get this update all my client contracts.
99.9% of all sales are asset sales. And if your contracts won't transfer, if we can't get the clients to agree to a consent of transfer, then the deal could fall apart. So why not be proactive and put this language in your contract from the beginning?
Brilliant.
And then databases are huge. So databases are usually overlooked because most advisors don't know how to value them. You have to look at your database and ask how many clients do you have in there? Can it be retargeted? Can it be repurposed? Facebook paid $19 billion for WhatsApp. $19 billion. Guess how much money WhatsApp was making?
Zero.
They were actually hemorrhaging money, but they had a synergy.
They had the install base.
Correct. They had 1 billion users, and Facebook knew that they could all monetize that. So it's not always about, yes, EBITDA is important, but it's also about the synergies, because if you can build these synergies, even if you don't have high EBITDA, we can get you millions for your company just by identifying these synergies and bringing the right buyers that are willing to outbid everybody else and pay for them.
Yeah. Are you guys listening? This is genius. I just learned. I've already been sitting at the feet of the master for 6 months now. We met in Q4. But transferability, you didn't say that Q4. So now I just have 4 more months of clients without transferability clauses in their agreements. Guys, this is genius. If you're a construction company, if you are whoever you are, gym owners, make sure that your contracts can be transferred, because then that way that is a highly leverageable and movable asset. Brilliant.
You know how many
Michelle.
franchisors do not have the transferability clause in their franchise agreements? I once witnessed a transaction. I was not the broker. I was not the advisor on this transaction. But there was a franchisor that had a couple thousand franchisees. They sold to a private equity group for millions. The private equity group hired a legal team to do the due diligence. Nobody checked the contracts for transferability. They had a big hoopla party to introduce themselves to all the franchisees. Franchisees didn't like them, so they didn't transfer. Only 2 people out of thousands transferred over. They ended up filing bankruptcy. They ended up suing the legal team, and it was a mess. So transferability is huge. The last thing I want to talk to you really quickly about in proprietary is what I call IP real estate. IP real estate is this intangible stuff that you can get to really build the value of your company. Number one is celebrity endorsements. If you have a skincare line and you're on Oprah's favorite things, or Oprah Winfrey has endorsed you, strategists and competitors will pay a tremendous amount of money for celebrity endorsements because they want to get their products in front of Oprah. If you are on, one of the big radio shows and you have a diet company, they're only going to promote one diet company.
Right.
That's prime real estate that's hard to get on TV, on TV, on some commercials, but especially on radio.
Yeah.
And for all my e-commerce clients, if you positioning is everything. So when you can get number one on Wayfair, or in the top 3 spots of Wayfair, in the top 3 spots of Etsy, or in the top 3 spots of Amazon for your particular niche product, that is like gold. Yeah. Competitors and strategics are paying for these synergies. Build your synergies and you will build your value.
Got it.
All right. And then the fifth P is,
I don't care if anybody else listens to this episode. I'm all in. This is you and me, Michelle. Holy hell. We have 70,000 downloads, and I don't care if it's soul listens to this. Is awesome. I love what you're saying. Thank you. And then Patreons is number 5. So this is your client base. And I would tell you that most businesses follow the 80-20 rule, where 80% of their revenue comes from 20% of their clients. So most business owners have customer concentration. Customer concentration is the kiss of death. We once were selling a media advertising business that was in the $10 million range. And they had really, really talented media people. They service casinos. So they only have 5 clients because they have 5 of the largest casinos. But here's the problem. They lost 2 of the casinos, 2 of the 5 when we were trying to sell them, which cut the overhead in half. So customer concentration is a big problem. Now, that doesn't mean we can't sell the business with customer concentration. What it means is we have to search for that needle in the haystack and find the right buyer. I mean, we sold a business, a manufacturing business that had a couple of patents. We appraised in the $9.8 million range. It had right at $2 million in EBITDA. And we have 550 buyers on this business. We have 12 LOIs. The owner had an issue because the owner had customer concentration. They had 65% of their revenues were tied up in the BP contract. So that scared most of my buyers. But then I found that one needle in that haystack, and that buyer was a strategic that had similar products and services. And he loved the fact that this owner had customer concentration because he'd been trying to get in front of BP for years with their own products and services. So they wanted to outbid everybody else. So for a business that was appraised for $9.8 million, they paid $15 million for $15 million awesome. For 70% of the company, which is 126% more than what the value was. That because it was a perfect, you found that as you say, the needle in the haystack, the perfect marriage of the buyer who wanted access to BP, right?
And that's what valuations are about. People ask me all the time, Michelle, how do you evaluate a business? Well, valuations are art more than a science, but the key to valuations is identifying the synergies that business has and identifying the buyers who are willing to pay top dollar for those synergies because it catapults their business to the next level. And looking at that buyer and looking at their business and seeing how they can take advantage of economy of scales and maybe even cut costs because they might not need that distribution center because they have distribution all over the country. Got it. And they can double the EBITDA from day one of closing on the business. So value is what a buyer is willing to pay for what it means. So that's patrons.
And so we're not calling them customers. We're literally patrons, individuals who raving fans, to use somebody else's language, right? Just somebody who buys almost everything you offer. I know this is good. I want it. Right.
Awesome. Absolutely. And then the last P, the most important P to all entrepreneurs and why we're in this is profits. But the reason I put profits last is because Profits are never the problem. Lack of profits are never the problem. They're always a symptom of not operating on one of the other 5 Ps. Clients come to me all the time and say, Michelle, I have a profit problem. I'm like, no, you have a people problem. No, you have a process problem.
This is very intuitive. Yes, I totally get this.
Yeah. So those are your 6 Ps. That is the infrastructure. You build your business on this infrastructure, then you will build a sustainable, scalable business that when you're ready will actually be sellable. And I will tell you, most businesses never run on all 6 Ps. Even businesses that were selling in the $50-60 million range. I have one business right now that didn't even have all their PP, policy and procedure manuals together. And they don't have their financials together. Financials are a disaster.
See, this is brilliant because I totally get what you're saying about profits being a function of success in all the other 5, right?
Correct.
Nobody's not profitable. They're stuck at one or more of the other 5 Ps, right? Is that
right?
That's the message you're saying?
Most business owners only run on 2 or 3 of the 6 Ps. Most of them don't have the right people in the right place. They don't, they don't have the who filled out correctly. They don't have the people in the who position, so they're doing everything. But that's it. I mean, profits is never the problem. It's always a symptom. So if you're not profitable, you go back to one of these 5 Ps.
I love that. You guys, again, I am not, I feel like right now, I feel like, what is it? Colbert reports, right? Remember when always, hey, this is the book. That's the woman. Make sure you get your stuff handled. No joke. This has been a revelation. And I've heard your presentations. I've heard you. This is brilliant. And you guys, as I thumb through this book, this is all laid out graphically. So it's on deck. I'm finishing one book and I am all over this because I want to do it right? Because whether or not I exit, I want my company to be valuable, just straight up.
You want it to be profitable.
Yeah. Yes.
You want it to be profitable,
All right. So if you had, I like asking this of all my guests. So if there was one thing, Michelle, that you could tell someone who was literally making the leap from W-2, and I don't care if they're 19 or they're 90, but they're making a leap from W-2 into becoming an entrepreneur, what is the core thing they need to always remember to be successful?
Other than read Exit Rich?
Yeah, after reading Exit Rich.
After reading Exit Rich, I would say the core thing, the number one thing, there's so many things, but I would say the number one thing is get an expert, get a mentor, get somebody who's been down that road, the same road you're trying to travel. Get that person because they will shorten your learning curve dramatically. And why not learn from somebody else's mistakes, somebody else who's already been there?
Awesome. So how do we, I completely agree. How do we get a copy of, how do my crew get a copy? Dude, we're going to do like a book club and we're just going to start reading together on Zoom together so we can talk about this stuff. But how do they get a copy of Exit Rich besides Googling Exit Rich?
I'm going to tell you exactly how to get a copy of Exit Rich. I do want to tell you a couple of things about Exit Rich really quickly, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Sharon Lecter is my co-author, so I think it's very important to mention her. Sharon Lecter was the co-author with Robert Kiyosaki in Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Ooh, snap.
Yep. She is a New York Times bestselling author 5 times. She also has written several books in Think and Grow Rich Napoleon Hill Foundation. Plus, she is a CPA. She's a financial literacy expert, and she's been the advisor to many different presidents. Sharon Lecter writes a mentor's corner after every one of my chapters, and her husband is an intellectual property attorney. This book has been endorsed by Steve Forbes. Kevin Harrington, the original Shark on Shark Tank, wrote the foreword. Plus, it's been endorsed by Jack Canfield, Brian Tracy, Tom Hopkins, Les Brown, etc. So I just wanted to mention that. But we are in the middle of pre-sales, so you can buy the book on Amazon. However, I encourage you to buy the book at exitrichbook.com because the book is less expensive there for $24.79. We will also email you the a digital download immediately.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
So immediately you can start reading it today. Then when the book launches in June, you have like one of 3 advanced copies.
No, seriously, guys. No joke. I got one of the very few. She was at BA. I don't even remember how I got it. I just raised my hand. I said, Michelle, I need this book. And she just had compassion on me, seeing that I'm going to be a $500 million company in the next 5 years. She's like, I'll give it to you.
That's right. So anyway, go to exitrechbook.com, $24.79. We'll email you the digital download. We'll send a hard copy to your doorstep when it comes out. But this is what's also so valuable. You will get a lifetime membership at Exit Rich Book Club, where there's lots of video content about me talking about all these different strategies and techniques.
Yeah,
but even more important than that, documents. All the documents you need to run your business and sell your business are in Exit Rich Book Club. Employee handbooks.
Do I get Exit Rich Book Club? Am I part of that, or do I need to buy another book?
No, you bought a book, so you're in.
Okay, there we go.
You bought a book, so you're in. So these documents, employee handbooks, organizational charts, if you want to sell your business, sample letter of intent, sample purchase agreement, sample due diligence checklist, purchase agreements are all there, not only for your review, but also for your download. If you went to an attorney to recreate all these documents, it would cost you over $25,000.
You guys, get this done. That's
$24.
ExitRichBookClub.com.
Yes. And then guess what else you get? You get a 30-day membership in the Club CEOs, which is a mastermind that I started of like-minded entrepreneurs, where we do the hot seats and Q&As and really help entrepreneurs survive, thrive, so they too can exit rich.
All right. So my final question. Thank you so much, Michelle, for being here. This is genius. And especially for me, like I said, if I'm this was a massive win for my tribe, and I'm going to take, because it's a massive win for me personally. So how does give me just a minute or two of how does someone, if they're looking to sell a business, or do you do business valuations? Do you?
We've done thousands and thousands of valuations.
That's kind of the level that I'm looking at. How do we just go? Is there an email we send something, say, hey, I want to talk to you about business evaluations?
Absolutely. You can, my main website is SeilerTucker.com. SeilerTucker.com. Also, you can text Michelle to 888-526-5750. 888-526-5750. All on my websites, all my social media, everything will pop up there. You can also, my number is 504-525-1717, my office.
You heard it here first.
Call. Yeah. And you know what? I think this is the only podcast I've ever given my phone number out.
Did I tell you guys? We got juice here, people. We got juice. Thank you for that. But do you do valuations like that?
Yes.
Because you're like a before and after. This is what you are now, and do these things, and this is what you likely to be then.
Yep. I call it the annual valuation checkup. And one of the things I talk about when we didn't even get into this yet, but the GPS exit model. So I take my clients through what I call the GPS exit model, because most business owners fail to plan. They don't plan to fail. So they never think about their exit till they have to do a catastrophic event. I'll run you through the GPS exit model really quickly if you have time.
Let's do it. Okay. I got time. You got time, guys? I got time. Let's do it, Michelle.
So everyone who starts a business or buys a business needs to have a plan. When you want to drive somewhere, you take out your phone, you go to Google Maps, and what's the first thing you plug in?
Address, the destination.
Your destination.
Right.
Business owners need a destination. They need a destination to drive their business to.
What?
Otherwise, they're driving around.
That can't be. That's too easy.
But wait, there's more. So you need a destination. Otherwise, business owners are just driving around in circles, driving up and down the financial hills to wind up nowhere.
All right.
So you need to figure out your destination, your end game, your desired sales price. Pick a number. Let's say you want to sell for $20 million. Right. Maybe you hit it, maybe you don't, but let's have a target. So $20 million. Then what does the GPS exit model need to know? It needs to know where you're starting from.
Right.
It needs to know what's your current evaluation. And here's the deal, Merrill. This is what shocks me. We humans will go and get a physical checkup to make sure our health is in good condition, right? We drive our cars into the shop to get an annual checkup, tune up to make sure our cars get serviced. But business owners never ever get evaluation, and they don't get evaluation checkup. I just met with a business owner who's been in business 50 years, has never had his company evaluated. That is shocking to me. Your business is your most valuable asset. We really have to change the mindset of business owners and stop treating your business like your baby and start treating it like the asset that it is. And get that valuation checkup every single year, because there are events that happen that can increase your valuation. There are events that happen that can decrease your evaluation. So we do annual valuation checkups for our clients. So let's say you want to sell for $20 million, you're currently worth $5 million. Now we have a start of a plan. The next thing you need to know is time frame. When do I want to sell my business for $20 million? Let's say 15 years. So now you have a plan. $20 million is my desired sales price. I'm worth $5 million today. I want to sell in 15 years. Now you need to know who's your buyers going to be. Buyers, not buyer. If you have one buyer, you will never get massive value. You will never get the biggest value for your business.
You want to auction this property.
I want auctions. I want a bidding wars. I want to create scarcity. I want some competition.
Right.
Yeah. So who's your buyers going to be? There's 5 different types of buyers. Let me tell you who your buyers are not going to be. It's not going to be a first-time buyer because they don't buy $20 million companies. And 90% of buyers are first-time buyers. It's not going to be a turnaround specialist because they buy distressed assets. So it's probably going to be a private equity group, or a strategic / competitor, or a serial entrepreneur. Then you need to know, okay, what's the financial requirements to sell my business for $20 million? What does the gross revenues have to be? Profit margins? Where does the EBITDA have to be to sell for $20 million? Your EBITDA is going to have to be between $3 million to $5 million,
right?
Depending upon your synergies. And then you need to find out, gosh, the buyers that buy $20 million companies, what synergies are they looking for?
Yeah, what do they want?
And then that's how you build a business on the 6 Ps to suit their criteria. And then the very last step in the GPS exit model is why. Why do you want to sell a business for $20 million? Because if you don't have a strong enough why, you'll never stick in.
It's not motivating enough.
You won't have stickability. Right? You're not motivated. If it was easy to sell a business for $20 million, everyone would be doing it.
Right. Why the hell am I working this hard to do this thing? Right.
Exactly. So you got to have a powerful why to keep you motivated, to keep you hungry, to keep you in the game, to keep you weathering the financial storms. Your why is your everything. And if you're not hungry enough, you're not going to do it. So get hungry.
Starve yourself. Michelle, damn, girl. This is amazing. Thank you so much for literally just pixie dust on my tribe to give us a perspective of that there is a game plan, that there is a way. And by purchasing the book, I love that we can get access to the planning, the tools, the paperwork, the assessment. Thank you so much for
everything is there at your fingertips.
Thank you so much. This has been brilliant. You guys, can I get a hell yeah? This was amazing. I love the quality. Okay. So I go back to BA because I've never been a joiner, but when I was introduced by She's
a friend of both of ours, actually.
Yeah. So, I am if this were multi-level, Michelle would be in my upline for bringing us into BA.
I would be your upline.
She brought in Tracy Hazard, who produces all of our podcasts. And so I called her I'm her grandbaby when it came into owning the value of your business is contributed by increasing the value of yourself, your own personal value. And so I've learned so much from my association there. And now I have insanely rich when I say rich, like soul rich coaches. This is who I get to hang out with 1 week per quarter, guys. And this is why I'm doing better at serving you, serving our tribe, and protecting you from the predatory lending that goes on out there, protecting you from the ignorance that is just replete in everywhere through and through our the financial markets. And it is my pleasure to have had you, Michelle, here with us today. And make sure you write your comments in the podcast. For those of you watching live, just give us a shout out, send some love to Michelle, and tell us what you think in the live feed. And thank you, Michelle, for absolutely everything that you have shared with my tribe. We are all exiting richer as a result of it. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome, Merrill. Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm looking forward to seeing you in May at BA.
Yeah, BA again. All right, tribe. This is Merrill Chandler, your host of the Get Fundable podcast. Thank you for joining me. Keep coming back. I know you guys binge like mad people, so keep coming back for more, because we will continue to knock it out of the park. You have a blessed morning, afternoon, or evening. However it is that you're listening to this, you be well and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Get Fundable podcast. Please leave comments, because Merrill would love to read about your aha moments from this episode. And be sure to visit getfundable.com to read our blog, get important links, join our community, and much, much more, like ordering Merrill's tell-all book that is changing the world, The New F Word. And you got to tell your friends about this podcast, because we want them to get fundable too.